Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Good, and I appreciate you so much for joining me here today. Wanted to drop in and kind of throw in my 2 cents about the latest Nintendo Direct that came out here a few days ago, as of September of 2021. Now, they talked about a lot of things, but I'm going to go over some of the biggest stuff to me personally, because these directs, man, they do cram a lot in there, which is kind of impressive when they're not talking about one specific game. But let's dive right in. Now, there were a few different things I saw kind of going around the internet. I think one of the biggest things was the casting that they have for the new animated Mario film that's coming up. Congratulations to all those actors. Good for them. That's a pretty good role to get. And some really interesting characters that are going to be in there as well. But I don't really want to I don't want to talk about that too much yet, because we don't know what the performances are going to be like, one way or the other. So I'm like, I'll just wait to see it, because I like Illumination. I think they're pretty good. And either way, I think it'll still be a fun movie. So I want to say that right at the top, so that way people aren't like, all right, he's going to talk about that. He's going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about it. Not until we have something to go off of, okay? But for me, tuning into this, I think the coolest thing, again, this is just a personal opinion, is this new Kirby game, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I was like, where is this coming from? This, to me, is so reminiscent, or kind of another step up for Kirby, insofar as like Kirby and the Crystal Shards that I love so much on the Nintendo 64. Now, for people who don't remember that game, it was pretty much a side scroller, but it had these kind of 3D elements where like the camera would kind of turn as Kirby would kind of move, again, from left to right typically, but he'd be going like up like a spire or something, and it would start to move, and it felt kind of 3D-ish. This feels like another attempt at it, but I heard somebody else say really well, Kyle Bossman, who's been on the show a couple times. Hey Kyle, how you doing? He was saying that it kind of had that vibe of like the Super Mario 3D worlds versus like a Mario Odyssey. So while Kirby can kind of traverse in a 3D space, it's not like the full crazy open world that you would get in some of those other games, or like a Donkey Kong 64, for example. But I was happy to see it, and I thought that was so cool. And not only Kirby getting another game like this, because I can't recall if there's been one like this not on handheld in a long, long time. Even though now, obviously Switch is a handheld. But I was like, oh, cool. It's Kirby, exploring kind of like a crazy, like, post-apocalypse of like a world that kind of is reminiscent of our own. I don't know. It's such a weird setting to put Kirby in, but I thought it looked really great. And I love seeing the powers. Kirby's known for inhaling foes and then using their abilities for his own. And I hope they bring back some of the combination stuff that we did see back in Crystal Shards, where you could take like the sword and then electricity and put them together, and then you get like a Darth Maul double lightsaber, like, something like that. That would be really cool. Like, I just love that kind of stuff, and I've always loved Kirby. I'm also very terrified of Kirby. I respect Kirby's power, because Kirby is an endless void that would eat us all up if he so chose. So yeah, just keep that in mind with Kirby. But it's such a cute, like, beautiful world. I love the color. I love seeing the kind of the old enemies and stuff too. But this one thing that I really liked here more than something like Mario Odyssey is that everything seemed, even though like the world itself seems a little bit foreign, a little bit different than what Kirby's used to, it all felt a little more organic with the art style of Kirby. One of my kind of critiques for Super Mario Odyssey is that you would have in the same level with Mario, you'd have like a chain chomp, like a regular chain chomp, but then you'd have like a photorealistic T-Rex. Like, I don't know. To me, that kind of breaks the immersion. Personally, I prefer it where it's it's kind of a little more homogenized within the artistic style, if that makes sense. But yeah, I thought that was probably one of the coolest thing that came out of this, because I was definitely not expecting it. I was like tuning in. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, oh my god, they're giving Kirby like another big game. I was like, oh, it just like warms my heart. It really does. It really does. Another thing I know one of our Legionnaires, Simon, was really excited about, and I think plenty of other people are too, and that is the reveal once again of Bayonetta 3. I knew this was the Bayonetta 3, like, cinematic, like right at the beginning. I don't know if it was the font or whatever else. I didn't even play 2, but I was like, oh, this is Bayonetta. And it's cool to see it back. I think they said they originally announced it in like 2017, which even by video game standards was like a pretty long time ago. Because typically when they do a reveal like that, it's like, okay, you might have like 2 years before something happens. So it was kind of like, okay, what's happening? So it sounds like it's finally coming out, I think here in 2022. But apparently they saw a lot from what happened in Devil May Cry 5, and they decided to make Bayonetta a lot like V from that game, where she can kind of control monsters from a distance. No, I'm just kidding. But it looks like there's a lot more of like almost kaiju battle stuff in this game. So I thought it was pretty interesting, and there's more of kind of a Japanese flair, and I was like, whoa, okay, like Bayonetta's in Japan or something like that. Cool. And I could see where Bayonetta would be like, yeah, I'm gonna turn my hair into a super dragon monster thing to fight other super dragon monster things. Not that she hasn't done that in the past, but I just thought, I was like, okay, different, a little bit of a different tilt here. But the crazy combat's back, she's back. And has a new look, as she tends to do. I was like, okay, cool. I'm just glad that the game is there, and for so many people who've been waiting for it for so long, it's just nice to know that it's still on the way, because a lot of people were getting nervous where they're like, hey, Platinum, what are you doing? You said that game was coming. So yeah, it's nice to see that is actually on its way, and I'm really curious to see how it does on the Switch. Because it looks like a pretty technical and potentially demanding game. So yeah, I'm really curious to see that. But yeah, there you go. Bayonetta's back, baby, which I thought was kind of another big deal. This one I thought was really interesting and was more of kind of like an industry announcement. And that is the new additions we're getting to the Nintendo Switch Online subscription service. It sounds like, and the expansion pass. There's an expansion pass to the Nintendo Switch Online. It's a lot. It's lots going on. So, and I do not know everything about this. Nobody knows everything about this yet, because we're still waiting to hear full pricing for this expansion pack coming up. But there's this new add-on that is coming that will allow you to play Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games. Select ones, not every single one of them. Not yet, anyway. And they kind of showed a bunch of like, the big hitters from the N64 library, which to me is the coolest stuff. Maybe some of my favorite stuff Nintendo's ever put out, or my favorite video game stuff in general. But that's because it hit me when I was a kid in the 90s. So it was like, it's that power play for nostalgia and just so much love for those games. But yeah, I thought this was an interesting kind of combination thing. And this looks like another attempt to get more of a Game Pass situation going for Nintendo themselves. I think it makes perfect sense. I'm really, really curious to see what that price point is. I'm sure there are people out there analyzing, and they're probably like, it's got to be this, or got to be that, or whatever else. And Nintendo Switch Online, comparatively to what you get with PlayStation or Xbox, is I think like 1/3 of the cost. It's like $20 a year or something. It's much cheaper. But I'd be curious to know what this expansion will add with it. And it looks like you can get a Sega Genesis or N64 kind of wireless controller if you get the expansion. So you have to get the expansion pass, or whatever this is called, and then you can buy one of these controllers for $49.99 United States dollars. Is that what USD? Is that what that stands for? I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting as well, because like a lot of people do not like the N64 controller. I still love it. I hated playing those types of mini games though on Mario Party, where you had to like spin the joystick really fast. So you do it with like the palm of your hand, and it would like rip it apart. That's horrible. Yeah, 90s problems. But anyway, the thing that is so curious to me though is, I wonder if this means that just N64 Mini is never going to happen, which kind of bums me out, because I'm very thankful and lucky I've got a working, functioning Nintendo 64. I think maybe it's the same one I've always had, and I have all the games pretty much that I love to play, but it would be kind of cool to have just a mini that has most of those games on there just in case something happened down the line. But I'm still hoping for that Pokemon Snap remaster. But, that's fine. We got a new Pokemon Snap. I just apparently have to let that one go. Or am I? But yeah, I thought that was really, really curious. And it sounds like down the road, they're going to add on more games, which will mean that over time, hopefully, that this will be more of a bang for your buck. If that's something you're interested in. There might be a lot of people out there who are like, yeah, those games are way too old. I'm not interested in that. I haven't met too many of those people, but most of the people I talk to are video game enthusiasts my age, so there would be an interest in having access to these types of things. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, I think the big point is going to be what's the cost and what that library eventually looks like, because nowadays with something like Game Pass, you can kind of look at that, and some, they lose a couple titles every month, but they gain a couple titles, but there's such a big library there. There's so much, again, bang for your buck. But here, I'm just curious. I'm curious to know how many people out there prefer this over like an N64 Mini. I'm not sure, because all these games they talked about for Nintendo 64 specifically, I think would have been definitely on the Mini, like for sure. Like there's no way that Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time wouldn't have been on the Mini, but who knows? I don't know. I don't know why the Mini seems so much more appealing to me. Maybe it's because I don't have to pay every month to have it. Like I just buy it once and it's like done. I don't know. That would be, to me, that was such an interesting thing that kind of came up, because I was like, that again is talking more about like the industry as a whole and how things are kind of shifting, as insofar as these subscription services, and then also Nintendo having a pretty well-known library to kind of pull on. So yeah, we'll see about that. I'm really curious, anybody listening to this or watching this, is that something you are interested in, or is there a price point that would really price you out of getting this? Like, I'm sure it's not going to be anything really, really nuts, but at the same time, I'm curious to know how far people's nostalgia goes for this stuff. There's a few more announcements, things that I'm not like the best person to talk about. Splatoon 3, more information about that. Monster Hunter Rise getting an expansion. That's great. I'm still just waiting for Monster Hunter World 2. I still never beat... Oh, his name is Fatalis. That's the name. I never beat Fatalis. That was horrible. And this Final Fantasy kart racer, I feel like I touch on it briefly. Wow, just out of nowhere, two different video game things colliding. We've seen it in the past, though. Like, I guess you could say Final Fantasy Tactics was kind of like that in a way, like two different genres or two different things kind of colliding, but didn't expect that. It's like, okay, we're doing this now. It didn't seem like something like, I'm really curious to know if there are people out there who are genuinely excited about that one, because for me, I'm like, that's very quaint and interesting, but I don't know if it'd be like something I just like need to pick up. It's just trying to rival Mario Kart. I understand. The other things that I thought were interesting too were the fact that Animal Crossing New Horizons and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate are getting their own directs later on. They kind of teased at them, especially with Animal Crossing here, and I was like, oh, okay. I have not been keeping up with Animal Crossing. I know a lot of people have, or some of them probably fell off, but there was a while there where Animal Crossing fever was pretty high. A lot of people were trapped at home, and it was kind of a nice little bit of escapism. But there's that, and the fact that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the game that continues to keep on going. I feel like at some point, I don't know if they're ever going to reach critical mass, but like how many more characters, like every time they do one of these things, I'm sure there's like a few people out there who are like, oh yes, they still have to announce one or two more or whatever it's going to happen. But I don't know. They could always announce more and more. It's just, that game is truly like the ultimate. Once it's done, when they're ever just like, they say it's done, that's going to be like the craziest roster almost probably in fighting game history. Like, it's just so insane. I know there are a lot of clones it's in the game. I know there's a lot of like repeats and copies and stuff, but like still it's a great game. I kind of miss playing it, but I even have my Switch is like a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate version of the Switch. It just has a little design on it. It's nothing super crazy. But yeah, those are kind of the biggest things for me that came out of the Direct. I watched the portions that were really compelling to me and kind of skipped around. There were some other announcements in there too. But again, it just goes to show that Nintendo does a great job of kind of packing stuff into like a 40-minute presentation and just kind of getting it out there pretty quickly, which I appreciate. I know there were some like remasters and things, but unfortunately still didn't see Fire Emblem from Game Boy Advance come up. I don't need a remaster, Nintendo. I just need it to be on Switch. I think that's something that could happen. Please. I know you're watching this, Nintendo. Definitely not. But yeah, I would really love that. That would be great. You don't even have to do Sacred Stone. That first one, the Blazing Sword on Game Boy Advance. Please, I want to play as Canis. He's the shaman and he turns into a druid. He's got like dark powers. Game's nuts. Anyway, that is kind of the biggest takeaways for me from the Nintendo Direct, because I know some people were saying on the Discord like, hey, you should probably you talk about that. And I was like, yeah, we could definitely dive in there for a little bit. But I'm curious, honestly, to know what of this stuff is the coolest to you. I know there's some love for Bayonetta out there. I want to know for people who have the Nintendo Switch online subscription, if that expansion pass is something that is compelling to you or not. If you're just like, yeah, I'm good with what I've got, right now. Or maybe you're saying, I'm going to wait to see what that price is. And then whatever that is, maybe I would pick up the expansion pass. And if you're one of the people who's going to pick up that expansion pass, I gotta know, are you gonna get one of the controllers? Tell me, I want to know. I want to know if somebody out there is like, I will buy a $50 Nintendo 64 controller to pair with my Switch. Yeah, I'm just so curious. I'm very, very curious about that. But yeah, Nintendo admittedly is something I've kind of only been like, new Pokemon Snap was kind of the biggest thing that I've been playing on my Switch. I know there are other things on there, but it's kind of what I've been using it primarily for. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see some of these announcements. But that Kirby game, man, the Forgotten Land, that's a temptation, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you guys would like to see that streamed. You let me know. But yeah, anyway, we are just going to, wrap up the show. I know I'm trying to do quicker shows, more like bite-size, kind of like compressed, because in the past we used to do like 2.5 hour shows. I was like, I don't know, people, that might be too much. But hopefully you guys like this kind of more, as I would call it, bite-size version of it. If you do, let me know. And if you don't, let me know too. I would appreciate that so much. Let's see, if you guys ever have a topic or an idea for the shows going forward, please never, ever hesitate to leave it down in the comments. You can tweet at me. I'm at JimmyGood013 over on Twitter, or just tweet at GoCritical over on Twitter as well. Or Instagram. You can find us there, like wherever. Like I just want to know what you guys want to hear about, because I know I've been covering way more Disney stuff on the YouTube channel, but I still want to do games and movies when I can. I have not been killing time with a lot lately. That's why we not do time killers today. Yeah, by the way, I will say this. I've been catching up on Black Clover. What a great show. Oh, so good. I really enjoy it. Check out Black Clover anime. If you like anime, Naruto, Bleach, smashed together. That's Black Clover. But yeah, if you guys, like I said, please, I want to make this a dialogue. I want this to be something that you can write into or have suggestions about, or topics, and I'll talk about them, if I can find the time and have a strong opinion about them. No, but I appreciate you guys watching this today. If you are just listening, thank you so much. If you're listening like on iTunes or something, or one of those sites that allows you to leave a review, I would appreciate it one way or another. Good review or bad review, it might just be nice to know. It'd be nice to know what you guys think of it. And a huge thank you to our patrons. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, the guy who's trying to make all this stuff happen. If you want to see more of the gaming stuff, kind of like the talk we're doing today, please check us out over at twitch.tv/critical reviews. I'm trying to stream there at least once a week if I can, if not more. I've been streaming a bit of Hades, which I have thankfully beaten Hades himself a couple of times now. It's been great. I really like the game. It's very, very well done. I can see why people were talking about it for Game of the Year. But yeah, I think that about covers everything. Check out our merchandise if you're interested in any of that. But yeah, mostly just thank you for being here. I just appreciate you being here and hanging out, and just I love seeing the comments pop up, and I just love to respond to you guys. So please hit me up anytime. Either way, I appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your week or weekend or whenever you're listening to this, day, night, whenever. And until next time, big hug, love and hugs. There you go, big hug. And just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye-bye.